Hey everyone, Livy here, back with another video, and today we are doing yet another tarot spreads in practice. Particularly, we are looking at the Forager's Daughter Tarot, and one of the spreads that can be found in this very nice chunky guidebook. For those who, I guess, are not familiar with this format, I did a couple videos in the same vein last year. I only did two, but one was for the Ocean Tarot. The other was for the Queer Tarot. So now we're going to be looking at the Forager's Daughter. And the reason why I kind of want to go into this is because, okay, when you get a tarot deck, especially like this one, and it has a big guidebook like this, like very big, right? Usually people have some spreads either in the front, in the back, whatever. And, you know, it might be one of those things where you're curious to know, do these spreads actually work well in practice? Do they work? Can I add them to my spread library of other spreads that I like? So this is basically a video where we're going to test out one of these spreads and see if it is up to snuff, if it's something I'd want to add to my collection, something I'd want to utilize again. And I wanted it with this deck because, as you can see, it's very beautiful. It does have this big guidebook. And not to say that I would only do this spread with this deck. Like, if it's a good spread, you should be able to use it for other tarot decks. But because coming from this deck, I'm just going to try it with this deck, basically, to test it out. Now, the Forager's Daughter has specifically 3 spreads, and each one actually looks really, really good. So there's a Following the Tracks spread. There's Clearing the River. And then there's this one, which is Consulting the Seasons. I'm going to leave this like this for a second so you guys can just see like what the format of this is going to be. I decided to go with this one because it does, as you can see, have 5 cards. And also because, while I want to do all these spreads, the other 2 feel like they might be slightly more personal, so those would be ones I want to do more on my own. But I still think that this is a very good spread, and a lot of people might like this one. So this is called Consulting the Seasons. And then I'm going to show this side. I don't know how well you guys will be able to see this. I realize too, the lighting's not the greatest in here. It's like early morning. I'm going to read what the top says, and then I'll do a thing where I like hold this up closer to the camera so you guys can actually read this, and I'll hold it. So if anyone wants to, again, keep track of this and then keep track of these, you will be able to do so, like screenshot it, do whatever you want to do. So the directions for the spread say, the seasons each hold their own form of magic, which we can observe and adopt into our daily lives, no matter the time of year. Being aware of these natural cycles and how they influence us takes time, patience, and careful looking. Consulting the Seasons highlights a universal action for each season and shows us where to find those qualities in our current situation. This spread works well if you have a particular goal or aspiration in mind, or if you're simply looking for more general direction. So this is like a good general spread. Now I'm going to hold up for you guys to see. I'm going to hold it like this for a couple of, well, some seconds, and I'll, I guess, talk over this so people can record it. But these are the 5 spread positions. Where do you stand currently? So it's like position, bloom, sow, reap, and incubate. So I will be pulling from these. I will repeat the questions when I actually do this. But yeah, I'm holding it up so other people can see what the questions are. If they want to screenshot it, do whatever. If you also like this spread and don't have this deck, right, and you want to be able to try it with a different deck too, that is a-okay. Resources, right? Also because I do love this deck, the Forager's Daughter. But I've said this before and I'll say it again just to warn people so they're not like, I don't know, bamboozled or whatever they think. This is an indie deck. And this deck is also kind of pricey. So if you're trying to decide whether you want to invest in it or not, knowing that the spreads, if they're good or not, might also be a great point, right? So let's kind of get into it. What I'm going to do, just so I make sure, I always like bookmark kind of and push this to the side. We are going to try this spread and we're going to use this deck. This deck is beautiful. It is an animal deck, and as you can see, it has cicadas on the front. It has bugs, so if you're somebody who does not like bugs, this probably won't be the deck for you because there are a few. But anyways, we're going to get into it. Now, because I'm also going to title this video as a show me how you practice kind of thing, this time I decided I will actually run through what I do when I'm about to start doing a reading. So, what I normally do when I'm about to start reading is I personally like to knock 3 times on the deck just to, take out the energy of the reading that I could have had before. Then I take my deck and I literally hold it to my chest, okay? I take a deep breath in and out. And now I do something a little extra. You do not need to do this at all. When you do your own readings, of course, everyone has their own style. But I personally like to rhyme. Usually I say this part to myself, but I guess because I'm showing how I practice, I can kind of say it out. So because this spread is about consulting the seasons, I might say something like, let me think. Okay. Oh, sometimes it's hard to think about it. Now I'm like shy. I had an idea for what to say, but with the changing of the seasons, so I must change and grow. Please, please, please let me know in which direction should I go. I think I'm going to use that as that. And now, with that said, when I shuffle, I do a couple of overhand like this just because I don't riffle. But I've talked about this before. I have a very complicated way of shuffling where I literally make it so that every single card in the deck is touched at some point. And I think that's important because I heard somewhere that when you're doing a reading, you want all the cards to be able to react. I don't know how true that idea really is, but also because I didn't used to be able to even overhand shuffle, I developed this shuffle method just to help me out. So yeah, as you can see, it's very long. There's another row underneath this because this is a normal size tarot, though you don't see that on camera. And then I do a thing where it's like crossing kind of, but again, because this is a normal size tarot deck, you don't get to see that so much, but it starts to look like that. Once all the cards are done, I simply pick them up. I do a thing though where I like overlap some cards, as you can see, go like in front, and then some of the cards literally get shoved to the back. Again, this is just to ensure that the deck is fully shuffled, right? Don't want to leave any card out. And then once the deck is fully shuffled, I'm just extra. I split the deck in 3. I heard a lot of people, they split it in 2, whatever. Then I hover my hand over. I'm looking to see if any of these piles is calling out to me. And the way that I check that is mainly to see which pile feels the warmest, is what I say. But sometimes it's not even just a warm thing. Sometimes it might be like a weird, for me, it's like a weird tug in my stomach. And so far, I think this one's calling out to me more, but this pile also felt, so I just like stacked that like that. And now we can actually form this shape. So if I'm consulting this, because this is the first time I'm doing this, we have card number 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to be down here. Oops, sorry. And 5. I kind of want to see if you guys will be able to see this a little better. Maybe I will zoom out. Give me a second to figure out how to do this without like being too, here we go. You might not be able to see all the cards. It is what it is. This is the shape, but I will also tell you, so there's more here. Okay, let's look at this a little closely. What did the Forager's daughter want to tell me? So just to reiterate again, because I have this open here, is that spread card position number 1 is right here, and it's literally just called the position, okay? And question number 1 says, where do I stand currently? What is my mindset? What type of situation am I in? And interestingly, it gave me the 4 of Cups. I tend to get this card a lot as like kind of a stalker. So this doesn't 100% surprise me. I'm always kind of in this pensive, reflective mood, kind of trying to understand where I'm going in life. It's a reflective time. So this, again, does not really surprise me. I get this card a lot. It makes sense. I have been a little bit more emotional trying to decide what I'm going to do. It's the start of a new year as I'm filming this. It's still like within the first week of January. So this makes sense. This is more reflection. Position number 2, though, is right up here, and it says bloom. What area of my life is blooming right now? Where can I find abundance, beauty, or tranquility? What can I share with others? And the funny, interesting thing here, I'm just going to pull it closer so you guys can see. This is the 5 of Pentacles. And I feel like the 5, I'm laughing because it's like, I feel like the 5 of Pentacles, of course, is more about feeling like you're shut out. And so that's kind of weird that that area, it's not blooming, right? So maybe that's a sign of, it is like I've been left out in the cold kind of thing. But I'm actually very curious to see. So this is why I also want to try this, because how do you look in your guidebook, right? What does it say? I'm very curious to see what it says about the 5 of Pentacles in this deck, and to see what I can take from that. So let me just find a Pentacles. Here we go. Okay. This entry, 5 of Pentacles. And this deck, by the way, it's a very cool part. So as you can see, it has a dissection, a compass, and a reflection portion, and then it tells you position and upright. So this one says lack of resources, financial struggles, hardship, which funny enough, that's true. Like if I'm looking at this more objectively from like my own life, would I say that anything is blooming right now? No. So that's kind of, that's kind of sad that it's in that position. But it's so interesting because if I look at like the compass in this section, it talks about that, right, resources are scarce. There seems to be no hope in sight. It may feel like there's no support. The idea of continuing alone is disheartening. Moments like this make the world seem incredibly harsh. Now is the time to ask for help before things worsen. And then there's like a reflection on like scarcity. I feel like if I'm analyzing this more, and by the way, I'm also looking to see what else is in this reading. I definitely have a lot of cups, so that's some interesting contemplation. I have a major down here, but I'll talk about that when that comes. I think if I was to look at this and say like, well, if it's asking what's blooming and the answer is nothing, then I would become in that point of wondering, then how can I turn this into the next step? How can I turn this into a part where I'm actually on the up, where I'm doing better? So if it's saying what's blooming and the answer is nothing, that I'm in a moment of scarcity, you could also interpret like, because I'm in that moment of scarcity, because I'm in that moment where I have to be more reflective, you could also see that as a sign of that's where you will thrive, because you can rise up out of the darker parts, right? Find the light. Usually, instead of like a rat that like kind of died under a hill or something is what that kind of looks like. It could be, usually this card is like somebody who's been left out in the cold and you can see the light. So it's very, very interesting there. I guess it's not blooming much, but because of my own scarcity, I guess it's an innovation that I can help others. I don't know, that's a very tricky one, but definitely wanted to point that out to me. Okay. But then if I go into 3, which is what I sow, it says, what seeds do I need to sow now for future success and happiness, and what plans should I be making? This makes a lot of sense, but I don't like it. That's really mean. But this is the 3 of Cups, and if you guys at least know for RWS more meanings, the 3 of Cups is usually seen as kind of like the friendship card. So in order for me to have success, I actually do need to give a shit about the relationships around me. Not to say that I don't normally give a shit, but I tend to be more introverted. And so I don't always go out of my way to celebrate with others, to like have a good time, to build those friendships with people. I do have friends, but it's like, I'm okay. I'm one of those people who's okay not seeing them very often, just because, as you guys know, I'm also autistic. So for me, it's more a sensory thing. Like, I can hang out with others, but then I get very tired and exhausted. But it's interesting to note here that it's saying this is a time to build those relationships again. And to be honest, I do kind of need to do that. There's some friends and others that I haven't seen in a while. So even though, like I said, I don't really like it, it's like, you're like, oh man, do I really have to go out of my way? Again, sometimes that is necessary. And you should do it. So the deck is basically telling me, yes, please, you need to. But then if I look at number 4, so this is at the bottom here, it's in the position of reap, and it says, what do I need to cut from my life? What aspects have reached maturity and are ready to be let go? And this is the point where you guys might be like, how the hell does that make sense? The card in question is the Sun. And you might be thinking, that's really dark and bleak of a position to get, because this is supposed to be about letting go. And the Sun card, as we all know, is supposed to be the happiness and joy card. Like, why would I let sunlight go? Why would I let darker times come into my life? That doesn't seem to make any sense at all. Why would I let that go? But I think I understand what this is saying more. I'm better at reading for myself, definitely. because I know where I'm at. I'm very honest with myself. And if I'm really going to look at this card and tell you guys the truth of it, it's that for many, many years, I have tried to just find a point where I felt happy, right? Like always chasing happiness, or the idea of like trying to be better, especially because I used to have really big mental health struggles. I still sometimes do. And so it can be very disheartening to always feel like everything is doom and gloom. And so, yeah, you go out of your way to try to find the sun. Funny enough for me too, if you guys haven't been around my channel a while, the sun is one of my birth cards, but specifically, this is one of my shadow cards, right? So I'm always going to have issues with this, finding this. And reaping, like getting rid of or finally letting it go, is the idea that I always have to be happy and everything has to be good in order to thrive, and the right conditions, and oh, I'm just waiting for a really good moment to finally get to X, Y, and Z. And you know what? That's not always helpful, right? It's not always helpful to just... This almost goes into the realm of, have you guys heard of the phrase like toxic positivity? Like, this can sometimes be a toxic positivity, right? You're trying too hard for everything to be sunshine and rainbows, and it can't always be that. And you just have to accept it and move on. So I'm pretty sure that that is what this is telling me. And yeah, again, that's not always fun, but it is what it is, right? You just gotta roll with what life gives you, which finally then we get to this last card, which is fun in some ways. Position number 5 down here says the incubate. What potential is hibernating within me? What energies, ideas, or skills are quietly growing, waiting to be tapped into? And this deck is telling me that that energy is the Page of Cups, which I find really, really interesting. I feel like I'm actually might even zoom in so you guys can see this a little better, and I don't have to like pick up. Oops, there we go. And I don't have to pick up the card as much now. This page, I feel like this in some ways makes sense. For a while now, if I was going to say where on the spectrum of the court cards would I have been, I would have not said the Page. I would have said more these days, I've definitely been more like the Queen of Cups or even the King of Cups, right? I acknowledge feelings. I know sometimes what I'm feeling, but I tend to bottle it in more from experience. So sometimes you do have to go backwards though. Sometimes you need that reminder that you need to just feel everything. Because if you don't know, I do have a court card series where I talk about all the courts. And for me, the Page of Cups is the feeler, right? They feel everything. They let life bring what it brings them, and they allow themselves to access all of those emotions and to let them out and to do everything. And so maybe I am reaching a point where I just need to be honest where I'm at in my emotions and with life and everything, because sometimes you have to be more honest. You can't just bottle everything in. And it's good to be somebody who acknowledges that more and actually lets out those emotions and then tries to move on from that, right? Tries to actually figure out what to do from there. So this makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is kind of a reading where you might say, because I have like, for instance, the sun in a negative position, you have a negative card in the bloom position, like, you might say that's not very good. you would question like what the deck is trying to teach you, but I think this made a lot of sense for me. And I did kind of like this spread. It's definitely a good general overview check-in though. It doesn't feel like it goes too deep for me. Again, the two other spreads kind of in this deck felt a little deeper, but this one was pretty good as is. So yeah, I hope you guys liked this. I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but I really enjoyed this one. And sorry again if the lighting's a little weird, because again, it's like earlier time of day. But if you are watching, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye.